right, hi everyone. Welcome to the second session of the 8 Brocades Qigong class. Thanks for everyone who showed up again today and for the new joiners. This is Hínár again, just since it's going to be posted for people who might not know me. What we did in the first session, which I recommend you watching, and they are all going to be posted on YouTube eventually. We covered a few moves of the 8 moves of the 8 brocades with some practice moves to kind of ease people into the more complicated movements. What we're going to do today is we're going to do a quick warm-up and then we're going to review those moves, review the moves that we learned, and then we're going to start with the new ones. So we're going to do a quick warm-up. Again, people who have taken my Kung Fu classes will recognize the whole warm-up. The people who aren't, feel free to try and just to get you moving, get your blood and qi flowing. Should have some kind of music play in the background. And just circles with the ankles. In both directions, both feet. And then just tap your Achilles tendon slightly with the front of the foot. Cool, cool. All right, so let's recap some of the things we did. We talked about some of the very basic stances, and I'm gonna admit someone here. There you go. We're gonna start with some of the basic stances and the low weight shift that I demoed for later on to be used. So most of the stances are base stance, about shoulder distance between the 2 feet. Knee is sort of bent, so it's not straight out, flat. So we're not completely extending it backwards, but not bending it in flexing position either. We're gonna just have it slightly loose, still the body stacks, meaning that the joints and the bones and the muscles are naturally holding in place. Feet are a little bit inwards, so they are not exactly parallel, but a tiny little bit inwards. And then the hip has a slight pelvic forward tilt. So I'm overemphasizing it, but basically, let me see, where you can see me better. So we're not pushing it out where the back curves, but more like actually tilting it inward a little bit forward, okay? So that's our basic stance for most things. Only the horse stance that we're doing, which doesn't have to be very low, whatever comfort level you have, that has a 1.5 shoulder distance, so it's a little bit wider, and then you just like kind of go down as far as you can. It really ups to you. And that's kind of the distance that we're going to be doing for the little weight shift, which was basically standing with the 2 feet together, bending the knee, putting the foot out without going too much up and down. We shift to the other leg, pull the leg in, and then stand up. Again, and back, bending the knee, stepping out, shifting without too much up and down. The receiving leg is still bent, pull the other leg in, and then extend. So these were the things mainly that we covered stance-wise. We did a little bit of hand movement practice. For the seventh move in the V Brocades was the punch that also includes a grab. What we did for it is we practiced the not just the whole hand grabs, but going finger by finger grab. So it's not just like both all the fingers together, but start with the little finger and go through. And then that was developed into an actual grab when we reach out and then finger by finger grab something, twist it a little bit and pulling it in. So that's pretty much very similar to a Kung Fu arm grab and pull, but in this case we do it gently and lightly, not forcefully, not fast, but as a Qigong movement. Same thing with the punches. The hand comes up to the chest, nice and slowly, relax, goes out, and then we have the grab. As we pull it out, your upper body shifts a little bit, so we're not staying rigid and just arm move, but do move the upper body a little bit, and then reach as the other hand reaches out. Okay, so it's very slight little movement. It just, you don't want to stay rigid. You want to be like comfortable in the movement as you're punching. We covered those. I don't think we covered a lot of other things besides learning a few of the moves. We learned the first in the series, which is called lifting up the mountain, which was the fingers together, lifting up to the about chest area, whatever's comfortable for you, and then gently pushing it down. Inhaling as we go up, and exhaling as we go down. I emphasized last time that I would like you to focus more on keeping things relaxed and having gentle movements than being perfection in the movement. We want to have the things light, the joints not tighten up, the muscles not tight, because then it encourages the flow in the body better. So until you get comfortable with the movements, don't try to be just exactly right. Just try to do the best estimation while you can still breathe comfortably and move your body relatively fluidly. It's a little practice, but you know, everything takes practice, and just stay, you know, motivated, and you will get it. So we did the first move. We also I don't even remember which one did we cover. The punches we covered. Who wants to remind me what other move did we learn? Oh, we did the forward fold, the one that looks like a sun salutation, correct. And that was, we do on both sides. First, we put one hand in front of the other, and then bend the knee, reach down, swing the arm up as we extend the knee, and then bring it back to behind us. And then again, at the end of the lesson, we're gonna go through all 8 as the full set for you to have a practice while we're learning it. So the next thing I would like to cover is actually the practice move that will help with the number 4. Number 4 one was the one when you open up and then look to the side. So we're gonna start with a Qigong exercise that is a Qigong exercise which I highly recommend to do it by itself too. It's called the lotus sways in the water. And that's actually the lung strengthening Qigong exercise, and it's super easy. What you do is you hold out your 2 arms facing downwards. The palms are facing downwards in front of you about shoulder height. So you don't want to be high, hanging it, but just keeping it out. And then from there, as you inhale, you just simply move it out to the side and you turn it offside. Again, you don't want to overstretch it. You don't want to be too high, too low, just whatever is comfortable. But now your hands are facing upwards. And then as you exhale, you close it in to the starting position, okay? So this is what it looks like for one practice. So inhale out. And you exhale as you bring it back. So again, it's a continuous movement, so you don't flip and go out. But what you do is, I'm gonna step back so you can see my arm. But as you're coming out, is slowly, it faces up, and then as you close it in, it slowly turns back down, okay? And again, this is very quick, very simple. If you do sets of 8 throughout the day, it's gonna do very good to your lungs, which is what unfortunately the current virus is primarily attacking. So even if you do the 8 brocades daily, adding this little exercise in whenever throughout the day will definitely do you good, okay? So the reason I'm doing this, because it helps you to just kind of practice the arm movement, okay? So it's a little bit more complicated because you're turning it upwards, but you can do this without any other body part having to be adjusted. So now we're gonna move into the 4th exercise, the long exercise, the opening and closing. So we start, in our case, with the hands in front of you. Again, one hand is inside the other one, not touching each other, just kind of like, you know, when you're kind of like just hovering over your dantian, which is the point, the energetic center of the body, that's a little bit below the umbilicus, your belly button, just a little bit below. So one hand is hovering over that, the other hand is hovering over your other hand, okay? And then what we'll do from here is, if the way I usually do this is, whichever, again, this is my invention because there's not really a huge directive on that, but whichever hand is closer to me is the direction I'm doing it towards. So in this case, I'm having my left hand inside the right, so I'm gonna be doing it to the left, which means I'm gonna look to the left. So the way it works is we're in our little relaxed position, well, almost dove stand. With an inhale, we bring the hands out. In this case, it's more like a opening for a hug. So it's not so much about the shoulder level, not so much about going backwards. We're not stretching our chest right now. We're just going out like we were preparing to walk up to someone for a hug. And then after your hands are out, and they are facing mostly forward. They are not facing up like in the other one, just facing like what's comfortable forward. Then you're gonna start turning your head the direction you're doing it. And then fully turn the head back before you start moving your hands back into the starting position, okay? I mentioned it in the first session, there are many, many versions of this series called 8 Brocades or Baduyin. if you look on YouTube, you'll see all kinds of versions. This is the one that my school, my teacher taught me, and I'm going by that. So again, hands in front of you, in front of dantian, your under belly button, lower abdomen. With an inhale, you bring them out comfortably, but still kind of extending. Still with the inhale, look to the left. With an exhale, you start facing back and finish up the exhale by bringing the hands back in. So that's it. So it's feel free to let your body do what comes natural. I mentioned it again in the first session. Sometimes when I'm going out or up, my whole body has a little bit of like an accordion movement. In this case too, is often I'm extending and like almost like rising a tiny bit, and then as I'm coming in, dropping in. Whatever comes natural to you. There's really let the body move. And again, try to keep the movements, both the arm and the neck, loose. Don't raise your shoulders. Keep them as relaxed as you can, okay? So the way you do it is, again, left hand inside right, you do this 8 times, and then you switch, and then you do 8 to the other side, okay? That's the first version that you're gonna learn and practice for a while before we go to more complicated versions. So far we learned the first move, lifting the mountain. We skipped that second because that's the bow and arrow. I think it's one of the more complicated ones because it involves both arms and foot movement. We haven't learned 3, which is the tiger, because again, it has a little bit more of a twisting, which we're gonna leave for the last session when you get a little practice of just feeling your body. Number 4 is the hip stretch. The one that involves the horse stance. So we're gonna move on to that one. It's not complicated again, but it has a little bit of instructions with it. So first of all, we get into the base stance for the horse stance, which is 1.5 shoulders. So you measure out the shoulder distance, and then you add about 1/2 of that to it. So sometimes people feel like they have huge shoulders. Sometimes people feel like they have hardly any. Just find whatever is, really works for you for both comfortable stance, both stability. From there, what you do is you move both hands onto your above the knee while you're lowering yourself to the horse stance position. In this case, you don't have to go all the way down. I often do it all the way down in a low horse stance, but doesn't have to be that way. Just wherever you can, like, kind of have a nice solid grab of your own knee, okay? And then from here, what happens is we're doing it to the left. You're gonna use the opposite hand, in this case the right hand, to kind of twist you to the left side, giving a little tug, a little stretch to the right hip. Then you drop in and then draw a circle to the other side, where now the left hand pushes against the leg, again stretching the left hip a little bit, back to the middle, and then stand up, okay? So again, you're just doing this kind of movement and then going back again. But you don't want to be too low. So when I'm doing it, even that I'm low, I'm not going to lean into my knees. I'm going to always keep myself higher than my knee, my hip. Also going to keep my back straight, so I'm not, humping the back or not overstretching. It's more about this stretch of going against the opposite side, because that's the one that loosens up the hips, okay? Does it make sense? All right, so let's do one more of this set. Start standing, lower ourselves, put hands not right on the knee, a little bit above the knee, then push ourselves into the opposite direction, draw a semicircle down, push opposite direction again, come back to the middle, and then stand up. And then we're going back, down, push towards the right with the left hand, draw the semicircle, push right hand towards the left, come back to the middle, and stand up. So imagine you're like using this hand and force and the leg to actually get a stretch in this area. So stretching the whole upper body that way and then the other way, okay? All right, so that's the 5th move of the 8 brocades. The 6th one was the one with the forward fold. 7th is the 5, 6, 7th is the punch. And the last one, the 8th one, is the one when we're kind of rolling back and forth. So we'll cover that too, okay? So I'm gonna stand where you can see my feet. So the way it works, I'm gonna pull my pants up a little bit so you can see what's going on there. Turning into a fisherman. So what you do first is you just gonna go on like tippy toes, okay? Like leaning forward, like almost falling forward, okay? And then from there, you just kind of roll back to the back. Again, it's a roll. It's not just shifting, not this, but actually forward and then back. Yes, like almost falling back and then almost falling forward again, and then almost falling back. We do this back and forth 8 times, okay? It's okay to almost fall. It's okay to have to catch yourself because that's better than not actually moving your weight of weight or the center of mass, okay? Should have brought the watch in with me. I don't know what time it is. 5 more. We're doing well with time. So, any questions so far? You can just do a thumbs up if everything is good. Awesome. So basically, let's just review the things we know. So we know lifting the mountain. We learned the lung exercise. We learned the hip stretch. We learned forward fold, opening. Good, good, good. We learned the punch and grab. And then we learned the little lean forward, lean back, lean forward, lean back. So besides that, I highly recommend practicing the other couple of things that I showed you so far. So we did the accordion. Remember that? When we just have the 2 hands facing each other in front of you. Again, you're in that usual standard loose position. And as you inhale, you open up the arms again, whatever the breathing dictates. And then you close again with an exhale. While you're doing that, try to sense what kind of resistance, what kind of sensations your hand has as you're coming back. If you're be able to loosen up nicely and loosen your breathing, you're gonna feel a little bit of resistance as you're coming back, like something is like pushing out your hand as you're coming back in. That's what we call the chi ball, an energy ball. That's like you're kind of compressing the things that are where the exercise working up in here, okay? So it's a good exercise to get into your body, get a little bit of sensation more than just the physical sensation, if that makes sense. So. It's another thing you can do a set of 8 to get a sensation. Another thing that's helpful to do is after your practice is finished, to have one hand on the danjian, which is, again, I mentioned that this is about where my belly button is. So this is kind of the area right below it, the lower abdomen. This is one of the energetic lodges in the body that in Taoism and Chinese medicine we talk about. It's one of the chakras in the Ayurvedic medicine too. So that's one of the major one that we work with usually. They say that's where basically our the type of qi that has our defense, or Wei Qi, is originating from. So the better this works, the stronger it is, the more of the resistance in the body you have. So what you can do after the practice is that kind of just bring it in here and then focus on like gathering things over there. Just kind of nice, relaxed, deep breathing and bring everything in. They say that just how the polarities in Taoism work, like the yin and yang, you probably heard of it, that if I remember right, the left hand first, right hand over is for man, and right hand in, left hand on top is for ladies. It doesn't make a huge difference. It's whatever comes natural. Again, just go ahead and do it. So, and then one more reminder of the lung exercise, the lotus sways in the water. Remember, hands are like in a zombie position. And then from there, you bring it out gently. Now it faces up. You, again, let the movement come from shoulders, but you don't want to tighten things up in the back. Like you want to move the back. You want to move the shoulder, but not tighten it. Okay? So that requires a little bit of practice of how much force you want to actually exert in the least amount you can. And you want to make sure that things are moving from the shoulder girdle too. Okay? So that's a really handy exercise because you really don't need anything. You just kind of stand there and go out and back a few times. Not as fast as I just did it, but you know. And then it just gets a good workout for your lungs and your shoulder and upper body. So if you have shoulder issues, this is actually not a bad exercise to do either. Okay, so that will leave us to work on a couple of the more complicated moves for next time, which is going to be I guess the second and the third moves, the arrow, the bow and arrow, and then the tiger, which is also called separating heaven and earth. So we'll practice with those next time. And in preparation for the third move, the tiger, the jumping tiger, or the separating heaven and earth, we're gonna actually get back to a little grabbing exercise, okay? So imagine you're doing this little grab. Just practice a few with one hand, okay? Now extend that movement, this kind of circular movement here you're doing with your hand of grabbing and twisting, to an actual draw a circle. Yeah. So you reach, grab, and then bring it into a little circle. Come closer. So it's not just like out and back, but you're bringing it around in a circle, okay? Okay, so go ahead and practice a little bit because it's gonna help you to set up for this full movement of the tiger, where you're doing this little swiping movement to the side and then come in front of the other ones. So just go ahead and do this swiping movement a little bit on your own on both hands. So next time when we're going through the full set, then you'll feel a little bit more comfortable with it. All right, cool. So we're gonna go through the whole 8 brocades now together. Practice it in both directions. I usually, the way I do it is one day I start to the right, other day I start to the left. Again, this is just a little bit of my own invention habit. I don't remember which way you started last time, so we're gonna go left this time. Which for the first move, it doesn't matter anyway. So we're gonna go and lift the mountain. Again, 8 times. Very good. Now we're gonna do the bow and arrow. I need to position myself so I know which way to step out. So we're gonna actually do it to the left. So what we'll do is we're gonna just bring the 2 hands up and then pull against the arrow and then come back. Again, pull out the bow and arrow and then step back. So we're shooting to the left, so we're stepping to the right. Okay, and now we're gonna do the other side. So shooting to the right, pulling to the left, stepping to the left. All right. That was number 2. Number 3 is gonna be the tiger jump and then the separating heaven and earth. We're gonna start to the left again. So sweep to the left with your left hand, and then the left hand goes up, the right hand goes down next to you. So for simplicity, just swing your left hand out and then raise it next to you up. The other one pushes down, okay? That's like just for now until we learn it. Okay, and then we'll do sway to the right. Right hand extends out while left hand pushes down, both in a tiger hand. Very good. Next one we just learned, the opening and lung exercise. We're gonna do left hand inside and then open to the arm, look to the left, look back, and close. Good. Switch hands, and then the other way. Very good. All right, now we're gonna do the hip stretch, the horse stance. Don't bend too far. Don't bend below your hip. That's it. Now we're gonna do the fold. Left hand is within the right hand. Very good. Now, that was 6. Number 7 is punches. All right. The next one is the swinging back and forth. Up the toes and back. Very good. And then bring it in, settle in, and exhale. Very nice. So that was the full set, and then feel free to unmute yourself, and any questions, comments, please let me know. I'm staring a little bit to the left because I have another screen with everybody, all the participants. So, yes.
Just thanks for teaching us.
Absolutely. And then it seems like that we're going to be able to finish up in the 3rd session. So we're probably going to go through again, like some of these little tools that we learned, and then go finish the 2nd and 3rd move, and then do the full set again. And then if there are any questions or anything else you guys would like to, work on or talk about, we'll probably have time. I just didn't want to squeeze too many moves in so you guys can actually practice and feel confident about doing the whole thing on your own when we're done with all the sessions. All right? Awesome. It was if there are no more questions and comments, it was amazing to see you guys, and I'll send a message out with the next scheduled date. I'm gonna look at the little calendar you guys, marked in, and we'll go from there.
Great.
Thank
Thank you, Hínár.
Thank you, Hínár.
Stay well.
Take it easy, Hínár.